What's up, beautiful people, and welcome back to another comic book review video where I say words about a comic that I read and you, the beautiful people, listen. It is I, your crazy Nicolas Cage, your steward of Gondor, your genius, billionaire playboy, basic YouTuber philanthropist, SuperCliff, and would you kindly hit that like and subscribe button for every little bit helps in this majestic, powerful YouTube world. And today, guys, we continue with our dark and spooky adventure with Nocterra, issue number 3, written by the powerful Scott Snyder, with the art drawn by TonySDaniel and Tomei Mori. And so, without further ado, let's get weird, as issue 3 starts off with a flashback, a couple of days or so after the big PM. And it's here where we check in with both Val and M, watching TV, watching a news report that is covering the situation regarding the infection and how a person can tell whether or not someone is infected with the darkness. Now, a man by the name of Dr. Jonah Spinks, a cellular biologist, is being interviewed about the shade infection, which is what everyone at this point in time are calling it. Now, the doctor here, he lets everyone know that this actually isn't an infection, nor is it even a mutation. Rather, it's a metamorphosis. And he makes it clear that this is something that he's never seen before, something he never would have thought would come to pass. For this darkness, it somehow changes the genetic code to all living creatures. Yet, when it comes to humans, the changes are far more drastic, almost as if the darkness does something special to humans. And to add more wood to the fire, Dr. Spinks reveals that these week 1 changes, they're just the beginning. Whatever the darkness is changing humans into, we haven't yet seen the full scope of the results, for further horrors await. The doctor then states that there is actually something that they do know, and it's once a person's eyes changes, once the irises turn yellow and the pupils distort, there is no way back for said person, because following careful examinations, by this stage, a person's brain has changed, especially around the language center. And this is seemingly due to the fact that these shades, they have some way of communicating with each other that we humans don't yet understand. Essentially, those who are affected are secretly in contact with other shades, speaking to them via code. Basically, what it comes down to is that the doctor tells the newscaster to not trust those who are affected. Don't trust what they are saying to you, because by that point, your loved one isn't human anymore. He or she, their allegiance is to the dark. Now keep in mind, because this entire news segment, it's being played in the background, basically to serve as a perfect way to deliver exposition without it feeling tedious. Because what's really happening to our characters at this moment is that one of the doors is getting knocked on by their parents. But we soon learn that their parents are actually locked within. And this entire time, they've been pleading, begging Val and M to let them out, whilst claiming that they feel better. So essentially, their parents have been infected. But because the news is playing in the background, both we the readers and Val know that the parents are in truth dead, and that whatever they become, whatever is knocking on the door, it isn't them. However, because M is a lot younger and is clearly less pessimistic than Val, he decides to open the door. But alas, M has fallen to their deception, because what we see at the bottom of the stairs are their parents, cloaked in shadow, along with their eyes glowing within the darkness. Next, we fast forward to the present, where issue 2 last left off, with a chase, as Val begins hauling ass down the road, with her brother Amori and the 2 passengers, Augustus and his granddaughter Bailey. And Val, she's attempting to escape from the villainous Blacktop Bill and his gang of shadow drivers. And during this, Blacktop Bill is communicating with Val, taunting her, telling her that she's going to die, her brother's going to die, and that she's a worthless piece of dunk and blah blah blah. Just truly terrible things are being said. Now, eventually Val's rig comes across a giant sign, and Val, she drives right through it, causing the sign to fall down onto Blacktop Bill and his gang. And immediately, a giant explosion follows, causing chaos for Blacktop Bill. We're then given some context from Val as she's monologuing as to what just happened, because back in the old days, nearly hundreds of years ago, most seaports, they had a couple of obstacles that were set up just beneath the waves in order to sink intruders. And so when it comes to the ports and the big PM, it's no different. For Val explains that Neon Grove, the area that they're traveling in, is littered with IEDs, and only the ferrymen know where certain booby traps are located. Now, unfortunately, despite the trap resulting in a giant explosion, Blacktop Bill and his crew are still active. They're still in the game. And so Val, she drops the Constellation, aka road spikes. But sadly, it's to no effect. Bill and his crew, they're still driving through. Now, this is where Bill sort of pulls a Fast and Furious move here, because as he's driving, getting closer and closer to Val's truck, he activates his car's harpoon gun, successfully hitting 2 shots into the back of Val's rig. Now it's revealed that these harpoons are special because they begin to drain the truck's power, which as a result is slowing the truck down. Therefore, Val and our crew need to find some way to disconnect the harpoons fast. Next, we pan away to the old man Augustus and his granddaughter. And seeing how this is all his fault, Augustus says goodbye to Bailey, giving her his journal, which apparently will help Bailey and Augustus's brother to chart the path to the Garden of Eos. And with that, he opens the back door. And once the back hatch opens up, Augustus is immediately impaled by one of Bill's harpoons, only to then be pulled towards Bill. But fortunately, due to Augustus' sacrifice, the harpoons are snapped in the process. And so with that, M, who's currently driving the rig, begins to haul ass, driving as fast as he can in order to get as far away from Blacktop Bill as possible. And so once everyone makes their escape, we see Blacktop Bill, who is slowly walking over to a dying Augustus. And Bill, he's like, hey buddy, it's been way too long. Because remember guys, Augustus is one of the people who are responsible for Blacktop Bill being the way that he is. Now Augustus, he assures Bill that he gave the girl a fake notebook, and that he knows where the real one is. And if Bill wants it, then he can have it, just as long as Bill keeps his granddaughter alive. However, Bill, he tells the old man that he's not going to be the one who kills her. No Doc, it's going to be you. Once you turn into a shade, and once I obtain the ability to control you, I'm going to force you to kill your granddaughter. Afterwards, we pick up with Val, Amori, and Bailey, who have made camp near an abandoned outpost called Tipton. And they're holed up in what's called the Cavern of Han, which is essentially a spot where travelers, if they need a place to chill or rest at, they can come in. And because it's well lit, it's quite safe for those who need a night's rest. Now, this is where Val has a conversation with Bailey, telling the girl that she's sorry regarding the loss of her grandfather. But Bailey, as it turns out, is not at all that heartbroken because she states that she only knew him for a month. For her parents were killed when human shades overran the outpost that she was staying at. It was only then where she came across Gus and where she was then told about her grandpa's goal and wanting to bring back the light, and that this could all be done at Sanctuary. Now Val was like, hey, that's cool, but listen, because since Gus isn't around anymore, I need your help. I need you to tell me about everything that was said about Sanctuary. But the way Bailey is responding is a bit off because the way she's speaking to Val, it's almost as if she's been indoctrinated. It's kind of like almost how like you're at the airport or you're simply using the T to get to work, and sometimes a person comes up to you and is like, hey, let me talk to you about the Lord Jesus Christ. And you're like, no. But legit, the way Bailey's talking about Sanctuary, it's not realistic. It sounds almost too good to be true. Now this is where Bailey hands Val the notebook that her grandpa had given her earlier. And she tells Val that Sanctuary is attempting to build a new sun, a sun that's called the Lux, and that she needs to get this notebook to her grandpa's brother so that he can make his way through the darkness and can make the world brighter. However, once Val opens the book, all the book's pages and notes, they're made up of scribble, almost like a 4-year-old was drawing pictures or something. And Val, she's thinking that this girl and the entire quest is it's batshit crazy. And you know, as we mentioned before, Val is super pessimistic. But if there is a place that's called Sanctuary, and if people are actually living there, then it's Val's best bet in order to save her brother from further infection. But speaking of Amori, we soon pan over to him, and M, he's basically just lying down in his sleeping bag as he's trying to get some sleep. But obviously, he's having trouble doing so. It's obvious that the infection, which is spreading through him, is making substantial progress. And as each panel is getting closer and closer to M's face, M eventually opens his eyes, and it's revealed that his eyes are yellow and distorted. Essentially, M has joined the darkness. Nocterra, issue number 3, was another home run for Scott Snyder's terrifying series. Like hot damn on a stick. This series is fantastic. God, it is so competently written. Like, I can't even emphasize that enough. But okay, check it. Let's talk about flashbacks. So far in every issue, Snyder has written a flashback, where each one gives us the context and proper information that we need in order to understand the rules of this world. And Scott Snyder is a master at utilizing flashbacks because he's not just telling us, he's using the actual moment of that flashback in order to conduct and showcase in how the infection works, and how the infection makes progress, and how it's able to trick non-infected humans into opening a locked door per se. It's scary shit, and Snyder's writing exploits that to great benefit. And that's really the reason as to why each issue of Nocterra reads great, because it never feels tedious and it never feels slow during exposition dumps. Like I said, Snyder knows just how much information to provide while still teasing us in doing so. Both TonySDaniel's and Tomei Mori's art is once again utterly incredible. There's just so much detail, and just the use of lights, whether it be that of fire, truck lighting, or neon lighting, it makes this world, which is complete shit, actually beautiful. Nocterra issue 3 is a fantastic continuation of Scott Snyder's indie horror book, a comic that all comic book fans should really check out because it's quite dope. Plus, I guarantee you that if you attempt to read this issue in the dark, especially towards the end, you might actually get a chill. Just saying. Nocterra issue number 3 gets a 9.5 out of 10. Giggity goo.